The Scottish Conservative leader, Ruth Davidson, discusses her struggles with mental health and why she thinks Britain will get a Brexit deal. And what a... Now, it was David Cameron who first tipped her as a future Prime Minister, but the Scottish Conservative leader, Ruth Davidson, caused shockwaves last week, revealing not only that she suffered from depression and self-harm as a young woman, but that partly as a result of that, and also because of personal commitments, she will never stand for the leadership of the UK party and therefore will never run to be Prime Minister. Ms Davidson came to note south of the border as a leading advocate of remaining in the EU. The fact she was one of the first openly gay women in British politics has added to her profile. Now, the former journalist has penned a book called Yes, She Can, mostly about other women, but with some revelations about her own life. And she's about to go on maternity leave. Earlier, she told me that her mental health was just one of the reasons why she doesn't want to be Prime Minister.
Well, I think, first of all, I mean, I'm in good mental health. I think it's worth saying. And I'm in good mental health because I know myself and because I've had issues, like I say, over 20 years ago, and I've managed it down the years. But I think what's really interesting, and maybe that's why we need to ask the question, is why somebody says, I want to stay in Scotland, I want to stay next to my family, I've got another job in mind, this doesn't interest me, and everyone goes, ah, yes, she doesn't really mean it. And they say, well, actually, I've had an issue as well as all of this stuff. And somebody goes, oh, well, she must mean it now. Well, maybe that is a conversation that we have to have about mental health. Why do you suddenly think that it trumps all of the other reasons when it actually is just part of the mix? And perhaps the conversations that we need to have about mental health haven't come as far as we think they have.
Are you one of those people who break you in half, Conservatives written through you? Or is it actually about the best way to serve the country? Could you imagine serving the country in a different political movement?
Well, I don't think I would ever join a different political party because I am a Conservative. I believe in conservative values of individual freedom, individual choice, individual responsibility, which actually in this country we don't talk enough about. And I do think that part of the issues that we have in politics right now, not just in this country, but in other countries too, is how loud the voices at the edges are and how quiet the centre is. And I'm unashamedly centre-right, and the centre part is as important as the right part. So
if Boris Johnson becomes the leader...
You've got to be able to work across the floor.
Could you stay? I mean, some of your colleagues have said... they would have to... Dominic Grieve has said he would leave the party if Boris Johnson became leader. Would you?
Hugely different position on the grounds that I'm not a member of government. I wouldn't have to serve under anyone that follows Theresa May, who has my complete support and I hope will be in place for some time. I have my own mandate in Scotland, and the Scottish Party is, in terms of devolution, has lots of different elements from the UK parties.
Because some people have suggested you might be precisely the kind of person a new party needs.
Do you know the problem?
Has anybody approached you about a new party?
No, they haven't. But the problem is that I am a Tory. That's the thing. So I will be staying within the Conservative Party.
Brexit. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think there will be a deal. I think it's going to be one of these ones, and you've covered enough European negotiations that you know that deadlines kind of come and go, and at midnight and at 4 a.m. people come stumbling out the room, and I've been a journalist and I've seen and reported on these too, but I think there will be a deal.
Can you say Britain will be better off under a checkers Brexit than it would be staying in the European Union, having campaigned for Remain?
Well, I've always argued that constitutional change brings with it economic instability and I think in the longer term that the United Kingdom can go on and have, a prosperous relationship with the rest of the world, absolutely. But do I think there'll be disruption? I've always argued that big constitutional change brings economic disruption, and I haven't changed that. Unfortunately, I didn't win that referendum. I was 4% shy, and I will live with not being 4% good enough at that Wembley debate for the rest of my life, and that scar's always going to be on my back.
There is a scenario, though, isn't there, in which there is no deal, Parliament votes against a no-deal Brexit, and there is a constitutional crisis, and the government decides the only way to deal with this is to give it back to the people.
I mean, I think I'd be pretty hypocritical if I'd spent 4 years saying to Nicola Sturgeon, you said you'd respect a referendum result, and now you're asking for another one. No. If I was now advocating there would be another referendum on Brexit just because I'd lost.
I hear what you're saying about you do not think that this should happen, but if it does happen... Will you be in the same position? You'd end up voting for Remain again. Presumably you'd have to, because you think.
Well, if there was another referendum tomorrow on the same terms as before, I would absolutely vote in the same way. But I do not see that happening over the next wee while.
You're about to become a mother.
Yes.
What's going to be your approach to politics after, after that? As a party leader, are you going to sort of be like the New Zealand PM who took her baby into the UN today, or are you going to have a different approach?
Well, I think there's an element of working out what works for you. I'm self-aware enough to know that I don't know everything that's coming, and lots of things are going to change in the same way as for a new parent. Lots of things change for you, no matter what your job is. There will be some adjustment, and I'm going to have to find a better, smarter way of working, because I know what it takes to lead a political party, and it takes a lot. And it's how do I manage to do that as well as not be absent from my child? And that's something that myself and my partner and my wider family are going to have to work out.